Hey, welcome to Team Flower. We're gonna make a bouquet today with some of these lovely orange and peach and slightly pink ingredients. We're gonna start building the shape of our bouquet. Level 1, we established the shape and the size of the bouquet. And we're gonna do that using this ruscus. So whenever I'm looking for the pieces that I wanna use, I'm thinking about the shape and the size of the pieces. So I have a big one, a medium one, and then this one, maybe he's the medium one. Cha-ching, all in a row. So then you can just drop these down into your hand like this. A nice loose grip is what you need. This doesn't look like much, but watch what happens whenever we snip some of those heavy ends off. It naturally falls into place. Okay. I'm arranging here next to my mirror, which I think is a really important part of bouquet building because you can stop and take a look around and see if your bouquet isn't headed in the direction that you'd like it to be. You can sort of, in a sense, sample it on yourself before you hand it off to someone else. So I've got that over here. Also going to use some hydrangea here in the first level, and I'm going to just put it right down in here to keep my greenery where I've put it. You could reverse. And if this part is difficult for you, maybe you want to do it this way. Maybe you want to start with the hydrangea and then thread the pieces of greenery through it so that they don't move at all. But I think a really important part of making a bouquet is getting a sense of the physical balance of the piece and doing what we just did and getting that all evened out and laying all on its own. Is a really important component of that. For each ingredient you put in, you want to have another one that goes in that balances that piece out. I think that's probably the number one thing that I see if I'm like looking back at, I was looking back at a lot of old pictures from my first season and whenever I was building my portfolio, and I think what I noticed there was that there were some balance issues that I was working through, and still every arrangement has a need for balance. So it's something you're constantly looking at and working on. All right, next I'm going to add in the amaranth. Amaranth can be a little bit tricky because it's so droopy and it can go kind of all over the place. So when I'm working with amaranth, I like to really get it into the bouquet. I had a wedding once where it just was like two big dreadlocks like hanging out of the bouquet, and I was like, oh, didn't quite like how it presented in the final product. So now I know what my preferences are whenever I'm using amaranth, and so having this support of the ruscus is helpful to keep it elevated and in place. You might like it droopy, that's fine. Everybody's going for a different look, and I think that's important. But I like mine trimming in there. Okay, I also have some of these really pretty cranberry viburnum berries that I'm going to add. You'll notice placement pattern. I'm just going around in a simple triangle right now in this first level. Berries in particular, they are physically heavy. So even within the branch, sometimes there's some editing needed to get the actual berries to a place where they'll rest on their own and not be too heavy, and that they are balanced. So that's what I'm doing there, just snipping away some of the berries, and then this can go into a crown or a boutonniere or just be used in another way. Even a centerpiece right around the base, some of those short pieces would be fine in there. So with bouquets, it's really important to pick the right piece for the place that it's going, and it is with any arrangement, but particularly here, weight-wise, you can cheat with weight a little bit on centerpieces, but not with bouquets. To add a few of these little snapdragons from the garden, just to continue taking color out to the sides like we did with the amaranth. This serves a similar function, a similar purpose as the amaranth does, but it's a different texture that I'm introducing into the design. Also has just a little touch of yellow in there, plays in with the berries that I'm working with. Okay, level 2, I'm going to start to build up from this base that we've been working on. Some of these little Gazelle Follies spray roses. So I'm building up from the middle and like in from the sides. It's like when you get dressed in the morning and you put all your layers on. That's what we're doing. Also, in this layer, I'm going to add some of these really beautiful carnations. Love, love, love these. A lot of times I use carnations in level 1 to add stability, and they act like a pillow for other flowers to rest on. And in a sense, they do serve a little bit of that function here, but I wanted to bring them up higher than I usually do because I'm really loving the color in them, particularly this one. Look at that, it's such a stunner. Save that for a special spot. We're going to add these cinnamon roses. This is our focal flower, and I'm also going to create an implied line with these as I'm arranging them and placing them in the bouquet. So an implied line just means we're going to connect the dots with our eyes like constellations in the sky. So I'm going to think about drawing a fun line with these. Also thinking about the distance between the two and how they relate to the other flowers, the ins, the outs. I think this variety is so pretty with its little ruffles. It's a nice opener, nice and full. And I'm going to add some to the sides as well. Now you'll notice, since we have quite a lot of round flowers in here, it's starting to look kind of round. with just these little pieces popping out on the sides. And I of course like for there to be a little bit more is what I'm looking for in this piece. So I can add some interest in separate these big blocks of color using this trumpet vine. It's amazing what these little flowers that have an interesting shape rather than everything being all round. This trumpet vine has an interesting shape, and even the foliage, I pulled just a few pieces that just had foliage in them so that we could add another shape to the foliage. Just a bit more color back in this area. A little bit of ruscus and some grass. So I'm assessing the shape again, assessing the balance again now that all of these other flowers have been added. Okay, and I also have this pretty grass. For a little knot of texture. Then I had these 3 cute little zinnias I was going to use as my finishing flower high in the arrangement. It's that little kiss at the top. Let's see, there's a little home for him. We're just creating a special little area right up here on the top. And then this beautiful carnation I've been hanging on to, and I'd like to find a spot for him. I think right here on the opposite side of this little zinnia grouping that we have at the top. Looks really pretty there. And then on this back side, wasn't quite right, so I'm just going to rearrange where that focal flower was sitting. And that oftentimes clears up any little space or holes that you feel like might be there. Oftentimes we need to just remove or rearrange the things that we already have rather than buying something new or adding another flower. Like when you're doing something in your home and maybe you're redecorating and you feel like you need to buy something or purchase something to make the room feel complete. A lot of times you already have what you need. It's just a matter of rethinking it or rearranging it. So I'm a firm believer in that everything that you need, you have. It just sometimes takes a little bit of digging to find it. I think that's the secret to being content and contentment really is special because it's peaceful. It's not a giving up, and it's not that you'll never have anything else. It's just peace with where things are at the moment, and knowing that what you need is there. So at this point in the designing process, I would pop it into a big vase like that and let it rest. Let it just be for a while. And then whenever it's time to, then I might go make some other things and come back and take another look at it and see if there's anything that I want to rearrange or change, and then wrap it up and get it ready to go. Thanks so much for watching. If you'd like to see more like this, you can tune in to teamflower.org/free.